Hi, welcome to Detours Understanding Acquired Brain Injury. And with us, we have Grace, who is going to be telling us her story. This is an introduction for her. And she's going to be joining our team at FBI, but you also will occasionally see her on Detours specifically. And so she's going to be sharing um, her story, like so many others have. And I think it's interesting. And please lend her your ears. Not literally, but Grace.
Hi, friends. My name is Grace Moses. And about 3 years ago, I was outside on my deck and I was at the top of the stairs and I have epilepsy. And I had a seizure when I was at the top of the stairs. And apparently, I rolled down the stairs. When I have a seizure, I leave my body. I mean, who wants to be in a body when it's having a seizure? So I went down the stairs and there's a big tree at the bottom. So I apparently hit my head on the tree and the skin ripped up and I really smacked my head. So I've had a lot of issues happen since then. I had 50 plus stitches to put that skin back on, but I understand that's not uncommon because your skin is hardly attached to your skull. But I've had, I think, are a lot of the typical things that go on when your head really gets hit. Before that, since I was 13, I've had epilepsy. So I've had a lot of insults to my poor brain. Fortunately, in the last couple of years, I haven't had seizures because I'm well controlled with the medication. Depakote and Vimpat are my two drugs of choice, and they seem to be doing well. So, the things that I find I have the hardest problems with now, after, are memory, major memory. Distraction is very hard for me to keep my attention on things. My kids know they have to turn the television off if they want me to listen to them. And I have 6 kids and 3 in-laws, by the way. 9 kids and 4 grandkids.
Lord.
And yeah, and they're all grown, not the grandchildren, but all 9 of my children. So fortunately, they do understand and they're very compassionate and sensitive. And they lock the gate at the top of the stairs on the second floor so that I don't fall down those stairs. What an awful thing to have to think about, your
Yeah.
kids protecting you from falling down the stairs. Um, I have also had problems with depression, which I never, ever had before. And I'm on medication, all different medications for that. But I recently went off of 2 different medications, and it took a long time to go off of them. And it was terrible, just terrible. And I'm supposed to start on another one next week. But it's awful to think that my brain is so sad and that it depends on drugs. But I've accepted that that's how it is. that I do have to have those things to clarify my brain. I remember being 13 when I had my first epileptic seizure and thinking, ugh, this is awful, and saying, I don't want to be on medication. And the doctor saying, you're going to be on medication for the rest of your life. And thinking, oh, no, I'm not. And here I am, 50, how many? I'm 68. So you can do the math. But still being on medication. I used to be an occupational therapist. I used to take care of people who had not brain injury, but had upper extremity problems, and kids who had autism and a lot of different things. I was a professor at Philadelphia University. I taught a number of different courses. Ironically, one of them was behavioral health and neurorehabilitation. Now, is that perfect or what?
Considering what I was studying, you know, working with a doctorate in neuropsychology, and yeah, I know neurologists with brain injury too, psychiatrists, you know, it's, yeah, yeah, the irony is like,
It's
yeah,
like the
so yeah,
universe is giving you a message ahead of time.
yeah,
Okay, you're going to need this. Listen carefully to yourself.
right. And guess what? We're pretty bad when it comes to following our own advice. Any health professionals, we're pretty bad too, as, yeah.
Yeah. And at this point, I really have a hard time recalling the things that I learned as an OT. And it makes me sad and frustrated and angry sometimes that I've lost all that. That's that's one of the biggest things
For me, I
that
do remember a lot, but guess what? I don't know how to apply it because I have this executive syndrome. So I can tell you, and based on what you've said, you seem to have that also. And here's the thing. So even if you did remember it, you'd have a devil of a time applying it anyway.
mm-hmm,
I could teach it, explain it, even do research into it for other stuff, but can I apply it? And those
now,
docs and nurses that I know who have brain injury who focus in those areas, they can't apply it really either. So
mm-hmm,
that's an even bigger insult. I think it'd be better just to forget it and like go along for the ride
mm-hmm.
rather than be angry and end up fighting against those. Well, gee, I know it's the well, actually the research says, you know, yeah, the actually folks on the internet.
Right, right. Now, last night I was with a friend and he had just been playing guitar
Mhm.
and he's learning how to play the electric guitar. So
Uh-huh.
the strings, of course, are a lot sharper. And he had been playing for quite a while. And he came into the living room, and all of a sudden, one of his fingers started to hurt. And it occurred to me, it popped into my head that it was probably that he had been pressing that finger onto a sharp string,
Mhm.
and that had pressed onto the nerve.
Right.
And so I suggested that he get some ice,
Mhm.
which he did, and he put that on, and that
Yep.
really helped. And then I showed him some exercises to do. Oh, they popped into my head,
Mhm.
and I did some massaging, and that helped him. And he said to me, you're remembering things.
There's an explanation
It's coming back.
on the left
And
side of the brain.
that really felt good to think about that. Yeah. that is popping back. Not
Um,
everything, but that bit felt good.
a lot of people, they may forget. I've got my brainy buddy here. A lot of people may forget the specifics of when, where they learned, or names and dates and things like that.
Mhm.
It's called episodic memory. Episodic memory tends to be more associated with the sorry about this. This thing's heavier than it looks. With the left side, which is where speech is processed, speech and language, Broca's area, Wernicke's, over here on the left side, and then the hippocampus, which is deeper than, but this is the surface. And no, I'm not going to rip this thing apart. It's a pain in the butt to put back together. So if I do that, I really want to make a point. But on the left side, but skills, how to do things, procedural memory is stored on the right side. Again, it's not quite that distinct. It's more distributed, but the coordination of storage and functions like that, how to do things like, what to do if, say, you hurt your finger playing the guitar or whatever else, that's over here. And it's more robust because its storage is also more distributed. Again, it's not like there is a hurt your finger storage area or like what to do for. However, because of the way it is stored and more distributed, as far as at least that's theory, because most people do remember how to do certain procedures. It's episodic memory they have a problem with. So, like, remember the exact words, or like, remembering your cousin's kid's name or stuff like that. Those get lost, but skills are more likely to be retained. How to do things. In fact, I was talking with about Kate about that, about a famous musicologist where they had done experimental brain surgery on him and wiped out his memory. They did surgery for epilepsy on him. And they figured, okay, let's take out, the damaged parts of his hippocampus. Let's just take them all out. Thing is, there were still some bits left on his right hippocampus when they did some imaging. And he retained the ability to produce medieval organ music, piano music, and those skills. What he lost was the ability to store or retrieve episodic memory, his own autobiography. So it's not a surprise you remember how to do things. Those memories are much more robust. Um, it also involves networks and everything else. And no, I'm not getting into network processing and all that. I've promised a couple people that I wouldn't get too weird with like those kind of details. But it is not a surprise that you have and will be able to retrieve more how to do stuff when you're put in those kind of situations. You probably could
Mhm.
teach stuff if you really, pushed at it. But could you remember and tell them like the name of the procedure and all that kind of stuff? Mm-mm.
Yeah.
You would have trouble. Could you learn it again if you really would grind yourself? Probably. But that will be very difficult. And the problem is because you also have short-term issues with frontal lobe injury.
Mhm.
So getting it past short-term into long-term. And yes, some episodic memories do come back over time also. Um, as I always say, and it seems like a 30-minute video for me to say, it's more complicated than that. Mark's famous catchphrase. But that's the truth because you read in a lot of like pop psych or pop neuro books, this does this. It's like, no, it's never that simple. But um, you do find memories like that are tend to be more lateralized. Not absolutely so, but functions are more lateralized. So I am not surprised you remembered how to do that. And you probably would find you
Mhm.
could do that with somebody popped their knee out, you just would know what to do, like procedurally. Those memories are in there. Just
Mhm.
take exercise to get them. So could you do some, OT? Could you work as an OTA or something else like that? Probably. Could you remember the particulars for teaching it and stuff? Not without a whole lot of work, because those are episodic functions. And a lot of people with brain injury have this experience. I could probably whip
Mhm.
out and give a couple of tests without much challenge. Would I be able to tell you all the stats and all the other elements like that? Nope. That's a weird effect, but yeah, it's quite interesting stuff, and it's also kind of depressing at the same time.
Mhm. Well, I I've been doing yoga for 55 years.
Hmm.
And I've been a student for 48 years. I still do it. I teach 3 classes a week. And it's wonderful to do that because even though I don't remember all the postures,
Hmm.
I still can do the postures basically.
Right.
And I love to teach.
Hmm.
I really love to teach.
And I will bet yeah, I was about to say, now, bet you can do everything, even if you don't know the name of the stuff, because that is different. That is that divide
Hmm.
between something funny happened to me last evening. I got to throw this one in there. 10 cent. I met a neurologist last night, and he had said, I mentioned about, he said, well, what was some of the research you're doing for your final project, for your doctoral? And I mentioned there was a set of cards that I was working on, and he said, you psychologists and those cards, every darn test. He said, you guys all want, I said, yeah, we all want to be Las Vegas dealers, it's like nothing, see, nothing up my sleeve, or magicians. It's like, pick a card, any card, it's like, it's true. It's darn true. But yeah, those kind of things to test those skill sets that are um procedural. And that's it. I bet you know all the moves, every one of them, even if you can't name them, right?
Yeah, yeah. And unfortunately, the other thing right now is my balance is just totally, oh my gosh, my balance is terrible. There you go. And my students have learned, do as I say, not
Right,
as I do, because when I'm doing a standing balance, I have to hold on to a chair. When I'm doing a seated balance, I have to get support.
right.
And, that's just how it is now.
Maybe
And
we can do some classes if you'd be willing,
oh, yeah, I think that would be nice. I can do over
for
the
disabled
many,
folks. Yeah.
yeah, over the many decades that I have taught, I have done classes for people who do have disabilities or who are elderly, or even people like me. And as I say, do as I say, not as I
Hmm.
do. I have done seated yoga, which is good for people who have physical issues.
Right.
But the big thing in yoga is that you listen to your body,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter how well it can do. You just listen to your body. So that's why I stick with yoga, and I just love to do it. And I have done it, and I don't do athletics.
I, I swim. That's how I do it. Kate and I
Hmm.
swim. And I find that helps too. And I'm sure that's something I bet you could combine too, because the
Hmm.
neutral buoyancy keeps you from falling over and stuff.
That's
And
true.
that
You
would be
can't
something,
fall in a pool.
that would be something to experiment with. Maybe we could try some of that too.
Hmm. Well, my
So,
wife is an athlete. She does Pilates and a lot of, she's a cyclist and
mm,
she does a lot of things. But I, this is what works for me.
right. Well, I can't anymore. I used to dive 5 and 7.5 meter platform. I used to, sprint. I mean, I can't do it anymore. I mean,
Hmm.
it's a miracle I can
Hmm.
walk. I'll take it.
Yeah,
And
doesn't
jog a
work.
little bit.
Yeah.
My problem is the bounce. I can go without the cane, but I'm risking falling on my face. And it's like
Hmm.
people have seen me go without the cane. They're like, well, you don't need the cane. Yes, I do. So I don't fall. But if I get upset or something, sometimes I'll go without the cane and I'm taking a risk. But if I'm upset, I'm kind of impulsive. And, if I get mad or if I'm upset, I'll
When
take
I'm
the
at the
risk.
top, when I'm at the top of any set of stairs, I'm just picturing myself falling down.
Right.
I can't help it. I grip that railing and I just, well, I half remember because I don't remember what happened. It just is out of my head. But yeah, I just am
Your
afraid.
body knows. Your body knows what happened to you. Your body
Yeah,
remembers.
yeah.
Because those
Well, my
deeper
brain says,
cortical areas,
forget it. I don't need to know.
the deeper cortical areas do. Now, I was unconscious for a week, and I'm missing about eight
Well,
weeks total. But I still have PTSD from the accident and many other things too. I mean, I did emergency and trauma and all that stuff. But so I'm empathetic, and falls are now the leading cause of traumatic brain injury, car accidents right
hmm.
after that. But yeah, and it's a scary, I get it. They're the leading cause, and it's not just simply old lady falls, off with the walker. It's all kinds
I
of.
don't want to hear about old ladies.
That's not you. Don't worry about it. Old or not is here.
I know, but that's the problem. Up there is not working either. I'm just
You're
kidding
telling you're you're
because
you're telling me you don't want to hear about it, so that means you don't have that mentality. It's
it,
about how you perceive yourself.
yeah, I'm kidding because I think I have a good sense of humor
You do.
and I don't feel old in my head or body.
You
It's a
don't look
little more
you don't look
challenging
it.
when I fall down, but
You don't look it. You don't sound it. You don't act it. I do my best. I joke about it a lot, but I plan on keep on going until they got to toss dirt on me. I have a mission to do. You do, and so does everyone else who
mhm.
participates here. We've got work to do.
So
I can't afford to stop.
let me tell people about Intensive Caring Unlimited.
Okay.
My oldest son was born 43 years ago, and he was 3 months premature. And if you think about it, there obviously was not the same kind of healthcare that there is now. He had every kind of three-letter problem that there was and there is. And there was not the same kind of care.
Mm-hmm.
And he had CP
Mm-hmm.
and is on the autism spectrum, and he just had everything. And so we had to really help him along the way. And now he is living by himself. He is walking to work. He is he loves to watch movies and write movie reviews. So he does so great.
Mm-hmm.
And he does have, Mark was just pointing out, he does have brain injury.
It's acquired brain injury,
Yeah, because of his early birth.
right?
But because of that, I founded an parent support organization called Intensive Caring Unlimited. And that was for parents who had premature and high risk infants. Now, 43 years ago, there was nothing. There was no internet. There weren't even, we couldn't even convince Children's Hospital
Mm-hmm.
to allow us to meet there. So we just talked over the phone. And I wrote lots and lots of material for people to read.
Mm-hmm.
I wrote a training manual for the the people who were talking to the new parents, and I wrote a newsletter, and it is. I think of that when I think of this organization.
I was about to say, it's funny you mentioned that. We are working on a curriculum right now to teach parents and spouses, kids, a short curriculum taught by both a survivor and a professional there, almost like the American Heart Association does for, like they have training manuals like that. We want to do the same thing and working on it
Hmm.
to teach what to expect for any kind of major brain injury because there's so many similarities, and then
Hmm.
modules dividing up, and we already have secured a rehab hospital to allow us to act almost like a laboratory for us to do stuff like this.
Hmm.
Um,
That's wonderful.
and to work on to do research as well. We have a number of physicians and things like that. So to do other studies that
Hmm.
we wish to do, that would fall under another arm of the company. We're kind of a conglomerate, so we have several companies underneath Friends of Brain Injury.
Hmm.
So like when you were talking about this, I was like, yeah, it sounds exactly like, same kind of thing.
Hmm.
And so I think, we would work well cooperative
Hmm.
too. As it is, you're an associate editor for us, so we definitely would work well together.
Thank you. And friends, just so you know me a little bit more, I'm a writer. As I just said, I did a lot of writing for ICU. And right now, um, the way that I write is to write poetry. I write haiku because it's the shortest and easiest, at least most of the time, it's the easiest. And 6 years ago, I was doing that, and I wrote a haiku for every day of the year. And then in December, I decided I was going to do that again. So I actually started on the first day of winter, and I've written more than one haiku. And I'm a photographer. I used to be a professional photographer, but now I'm not. I take photos for pleasure, but I combine them with the haiku and do that um, each day. And I'm making a whole journal, and it's just for my pleasure, but I love to do that. So that's what is the healing thing for me right now.
Yeah. So
So that's who I am.
what do you plan on doing with us before we go? Just quickly, what do you plan on focusing on with Detours, with Friends of Brain Injury?
Well, the things that I do in general are writing
Mm-hmm.
and photography. Um, I also love to teach.
Mm-hmm. And so we're grateful to have you for that too.
And so those are the biggest things that I think I can offer.
Great. Well, thank you very much for sharing your story. It's a very interesting story. We look forward to hearing from you again soon. Um,
Okay, well, thank you.
for those of you out there, if you have any comments, questions for Grace, if you have questions or comments for any of our other hosts, we have a variety of people who do all different kinds of things with the company. And so please like, subscribe, don't forget the bell icon, okay? And please share the video with other people who would benefit. Please go on to our website and on the website and go on to Facebook. We have Friends with Brain Injury, which is open for anyone who's interested in learning more. We have groups. We're getting ready to set up a regular support group evening for people to talk, and yeah, that it would be hosted by many different people. Sometimes we'll have open groups, and other times we'll have closed groups where you have to sign up, and it's like so the group is supportive for specific areas of brain injury, specific types or specific concerns. But for now, it's just like open to talk about anything you'd like on Facebook. So look for Friends with Brain Injury. Yes.
Just one more thing. Um, I also am a jewelry artisan.
Ah, okay.
So maybe somewhere along the line, some people may like to get together, even on Zoom, um, and just learn how to make jewelry
Okay.
and use your hands.
Yep. And for selling it, that's something for the website also. Um, our people have different skill sets, and on Marketplace underneath the on the website, where everything and anything would sell, that's all made by people with brain injury, and it goes to support the various causes that we do, as well as a small percentage goes, of course, to help the organization, Friends of Brain Injury, obviously, but majority of it goes to support various causes for people with brain injury. Um, for people with brain injury, by people with brain injury. All right. Just want to say thank you very much, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.